We've come to St John's churchyard here in Copthorne, and we're going to have a look at the Advent prayer trail which has been set up here. This is actually my favourite time of day to be here because the sun is just beginning to go down and the lights have been switched on, so let's go and have a look at them now. By 5 o'clock in the evening, our Love God lanterns are lit. We've made these using willow and tissue paper, and they're decorated in a way that represents the command that God gives us to love Him with our hearts and our minds and our souls. And the idea is that as we do that, our lives become lighter. I think that the idea of loving God starts with discovering more about His love for us. And as we do that, we can lift our eyes up to Him, and we can grow in our trust of Him and our enjoyment of loving Him. And at that point, our eyes and our hearts lift upwards. But also the worries and the anxieties and some of those difficulties that are in our lives, they become lighter. And so we've represented that by the way we've patterned these lanterns, with an increase in the way that the patterns on the lanterns disperse as they go up. So maybe as you enjoy this prayer station and just the simple act of lifting up our eyes to the heavens upwards, following the shapes of the lanterns, and maybe that is our way of just lifting our hearts in love to God. This is probably the simplest prayer session that we've made in terms of physically what's part of it, but maybe one of the hardest ones to put into practice in our lives, and that is to love one another. And it's based on the command from Jesus to tell us to love each other as He has loved us. So let's have a look at it. This prayer installation has been created just using logs to represent the people in our lives, and we've put them into this heart shape. You know, often the people in our lives, and us ourselves, we don't fit together easily. Maybe there are disagreements or differences of opinions, and maybe the people around us we struggle to fit with, or maybe we ourselves actually struggle to be part of a group or a family, and we are the ones who feel that we don't fit. And those differences in opinions or beliefs or the way that we act or speak, it just means that it's this sense of being awkward sometimes. And when Jesus commands us to love one another as he loved us, I think a few things happen. First of all, the Bible tells us that other people then see our love, and that is how they then discover God's love. The other thing that also happens is that as we begin to work out how to love the people in our lives, especially when we're not fitting quite together or there is an awkwardness, we discover more about God's love for us. So this is an opportunity for us to just recognise that our relationships are not always straightforward. That being in community or family can be difficult, can be awkward. But this call to love one another is something that is very beautiful, and where Jesus has gone ahead of us and has shown us how to love. So it's a great opportunity to spend some time praying for the people in our lives and talking to Jesus about the way that he loves them and that he also loves us, and asking for help to love each other. This prayer station is about our love for the world, to encourage us to think about that and to value the world that God has created and given to us to take care of and to love. So this station is created using strings of hearts which are coming down from this yew tree, and each of the hearts represents a different part of creation. The patterns on the strings of hearts represent patterns that we might find in nature. Maybe they are formation of cells, or maybe they are rocks and mountain shapes. Maybe they show a sense of insect or plant life. Actually, when I was painting these, many of them I had an idea of a shape or a pattern that I could see in nature, but then as I made them, they also reflected other and different parts of the world. And the idea of them coming out from this yew tree in this circular shape is also to represent the way that creation is joined up, and every part of God's creation is so important and so essential. And it is a great privilege and honour for us to be part of this creation, and also to be called to care for it, and to learn about God's creativity and his love for us as we respond to his call to love the world. God's love for us is the theme of this stable here, this part of the prayer trail, and it just looks really beautiful with the lights in here, isn't it? This is really the whole centre of this image of the Nativity at Christmas, and the lit up heart in the middle of the stable is to represent God's love for us. The stable where Jesus is shown as being brought to the world, being born here, was a terrible place. No one wanted to be in there. It wasn't made ready, and it was scruffy and messy. And God's love comes into our hearts in exactly the same way. The Bible says that God so loved the whole world that he gave his son. Christmas is this time of remembering the arrival of Jesus, sent by the Father into the world to show his love for us. And so the image of the heart in the stable, Jesus arriving in his gentleness and his kindness, is a depiction of the love that God has for us. And in exactly the same way that he entered that stable, so his love enters our hearts. We're not ready. Our lives can be messy and awkward. Maybe there are parts of our hearts which we've left a bit untended or have been empty for a while. And we don't need to prepare ourselves. We don't need to prepare the space in our heart, just like the stable wasn't prepared for the arrival of Jesus. And this Advent, this is a great opportunity for us to recognise that God's love for us is not conditional on us being ready or perfect or right, and we can simply say yes to his love and thank him for that love and invite him into our hearts this Advent. I hope you've enjoyed taking a look around the Advent prayer trail here at St John's, and if you're able to come down here and spend some time praying and meditating at each station, then that's great, and I hope you really enjoy it. But maybe it's just a place where you can enjoy walking through and looking at the lights and having something a bit bright to look at this time of year. So happy Advent.